This section 7.3 we spent 2 days on. And this is what your essay is over for this chapter. The parts of a cell.
Wait, long reading.
It is a long reading, but we spent 2 days on it, so.
So no quiz tomorrow?
There won't be a quiz tomorrow. There might be one the next day, though.
Is that a wink thing?
Monday.
Do we have to memorize all the things on the one
Yes, we're gonna have to know all these cells. If you roll this essay, you have to draw a cell and label everything in the cell and tell what everything does.
Lord.
We are on page 191. Open your book to page 191.
Say it again, you have to roll for an essay?
No, not for this one. This one you're getting chapter 7. We're only on one chapter.
Would I have to roll?
Yeah,
No.
I don't understand what you said.
Wait, yeah.
Oh, did I say you have to roll?
Yeah.
No.
What are we rolling for?
If you get, no, I guess I was thinking of the AP class.
Wait, so
When you get this essay, you'll have to draw a cell and label it and name all the parts. Sorry. Tell what they do. Page 191. 191.
we didn't build cells in like 5th grade.
Oh, good. So you've seen these.
Sounds like
We just have to know one of the cells. The animal cell, we have to know both of them. Maybe both of them.
You'll have to know both of them, but they have pretty much the same parts.
You have to know every single cell there is.
Here's a little introduction.
Is my boy.
And here.
Prokaryotic cells are unicellular organisms, like bacteria, that lack internal, membrane-bound structures. Eukaryotic cells, like plant and animal cells, are unicellular or multicellular organisms that contain a true nucleus and membrane-bound organelles. Let's examine the organelles in plant and animal cells more closely. The cell is protected from the outside environment by a plasma membrane, a flexible boundary that controls the movement of materials into and out of the cell. The cytoskeleton is composed of microtubules, which are long, hollow protein cylinders that assist in moving substances within the cell. The nucleus is located inside the cell and contains the coded directions for the production of proteins and other essential molecules. A double membrane called the nuclear envelope surrounds the nucleus. Materials move into and out of the nucleus through openings in the membrane called nuclear pores. Within the nucleus, a structure called the nucleolus produces ribosomes. Ribosomes are non-membrane bound organelles composed of RNA and protein. These organelles move into the cytoplasm where they assemble proteins using directions from DNA. Protein synthesis also occurs on the endoplasmic reticulum, or ER, a highly folded organelle. Rough endoplasmic reticulum contains ribosomes that actively synthesize proteins. Smooth ER contains few ribosomes, so little protein synthesis occurs here. Proteins synthesized on the endoplasmic reticulum are sent to the Golgi Apparatus. It is a flattened stack of membranes that modifies, sorts, and packages proteins for distribution throughout the cell. The mitochondria is a highly folded organelle responsible that releases usable energy for the cell. Lysosomes are found only in animal cells. A lysosome is an organelle that stores digested enzymes that help to digest food particles, as well as recycle excess or worn-out organelles of the cell. A cell wall surrounds each plant cell. A cell wall is an inflexible barrier that provides support and protection for the cell. Plant cells contain chloroplasts. They are double membrane organelles that contain chlorophyll that captures light energy and undergo photosynthesis. A vacuole is a membrane-bound compartment for the temporary storage of materials. This organelle can be found in both plant and animal cells, but is more commonly found in plant cells.
That was your essay. Can you write all that?
We gotta label both of them.
Well, they pretty much have have the same thing. Plant cells have a couple extra things, which we're going to talk about.
Fully.
Sounds like one of those guys on wheelchair that can't talk, so you gotta
No, I
hit the
can't.
button.
So I'm going to talk about all of these. And we're going to start with the cytoplasm, which inside the cell there's this gooey stuff. It's gooey stuff. It looks kind of like Jell-O or clear Jell-O. It's kind of, maybe if it's not cold enough, it's kind of still runny. That's the cytoplasm. It's mostly water. It's got some proteins and sugars in it. And that's what each cell is full of.
So would it taste like Jello?
Yeah, it would. It tastes kind of, well, not nearly as sweet as Jell-O, but it does have some sugars in it. It's got some salts in it too. That's the cytoplasm. Now, the book talks about the cytoskeleton. If we look at the cell, you see those lines right there? There's little lines there, and there's little lines there. It's called the cytoskeleton. See the microtubules, see the lines there? The cytoskeleton gives the cell support. Let me forward through this a little bit.
Whoa, yeah, I just missed a lot.
It's got a finger.
I'm going to come back to it.
Alright.
Where's your finger?
Oh, it looks like one of those Chinese finger traps.
Definitely gonna fit one finger.
No, you put two of them.
No, you're good.
You can't, you don't have to.
Oh, yeah.
It wouldn't fit.
That's how you were supposed to do it.
No,
I swore my
I don't have a better picture.
I used to go to like the fairs at like the circus and there was a break. I'm like, wow, crap.
I never like figured it out. It's like fourth grade, so when I got in trouble.
How do you do it? You're supposed to push.
Okay, what the okay, my turn.
Yeah, bro.
Sorry, we're talking about.
Why are y'all sitting in a line like
Because
this?
I can't always see when I'm back there.
Why don't you pull that up in front of you? Okay.
Now what are they gonna tell me?
The little cytoskeleton, what it does is it acts to hold the shape of the cell, but it also provides kind of a roadway where cells can move, or the organelles inside here can move along these little lines. The little lines are almost like train tracks. And I'll show you how different vesicles and things will move along those little tracks. So the cytoskeleton is an important structure that you see in there. Now, if you turn to page 193, the next thing you see is the nucleus. This big round thing inside the cell, that's the nucleus. And the nucleus holds the DNA. Do you remember when we studied nucleic acids?
I did.
What were nucleic acids made of?
Nucleotides.
Nucleotides. Very good, Bennett. And the nucleotides come together, and what do the nucleic acids do for the cell?
They store information.
Information. They hold information. And so the information, this nucleus right here, is where information is stored in the cell. And all the DNA, all the instructions for the cell are in here. And the instructions will be copied and carried out of the nucleus through these little holes. See those little holes there? They're called nuclear pores. And stuff can actually come out of the nucleus through these holes and into the rest of the cell. Information can come out. So this is like the plant, the manager of the cell, the brains of the cell. They're in the
Like
nucleus.
me.
Video footage?
Alright.
Yeah.
Ooh, there's the nucleus.
Inside the cell membrane, there are many different structures called organelles, which literally means little organs. One organelle, the nucleus, is the control center of the cell. The nucleus has a membrane that has pores in it. These allow certain molecules to enter or leave the nucleus. Inside the nucleus, there is fiber-like material called chromosomes. Chromosomes contain the cell's genetic information. This genetic information is like an architect's blueprint that determines how wood, glass, and other materials are used to build a house. The genetic blueprint in a person's chromosomes determines how different proteins are put together. These proteins are responsible for physical features such as the color of a person's hair and eyes, the shape of her nose, and even whether she is susceptible to certain kinds of diseases.
Might be the palest person I've ever seen.
Now, if you look in the nucleus,
What?
No, nothing.
listen, listen, up here. If you look in the nucleus, you see a big, dark sphere that's called the nucleolus. Nucleolus. The nucleolus is inside the nucleus. And the job of the nucleolus is to make ribosomes. Ribosomes look like little dots. And the job of the ribosomes is to make proteins. Do you see these little dots right here all over the cell? There's a bunch of them there. They're scattered around. See these little dots everywhere? Those are called ribosomes. They're made right here in the nucleolus, and then they exit the nucleus, and they often stick to this area here that's called the endoplasmic reticulum. Now these are big words. You're going to have to know them. Okay? The nucleolus makes ribosomes, and the ribosomes are often stuck to the endoplasmic reticulum. And when you see ribosomes stuck to the endoplasmic reticulum, you call it rough endoplasmic reticulum. Doesn't it look rough? If I was rubbing my finger on there, it would feel rough? Like stubble on somebody's beard? No? Okay.
Sometimes.
These, right here, this is the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. You see how there are no ribosomes on there? Smooth, rough. Rough endoplasmic reticulum has ribosomes. Smooth endoplasmic reticulum does not. Now, what do ribosomes do? Ribosomes put together proteins. Do you remember proteins? We talked about them last chapter. What are proteins made of, Tucker? If you know about them. Amino acids. Strung together in a long string. Remember amino acids?
Yeah.
And they fold up into a protein.
Pleated sheets or
These ribosomes, these little dots, listen, these little dots string together those amino acids to make proteins. And then the proteins do jobs inside the cell. The proteins are enzymes, and they take things, put things apart, take things apart, put things together, and work. So the ribosomes make the little workers. And right here, you see them up close. There's this membrane here, this purple membrane. That's the endoplasmic reticulum. It's membrane, phospholipid membrane inside the cell that is covered with ribosomes. And the ribosomes create the proteins and squirt the proteins into the endoplasmic reticulum. And the proteins collect in this area. After they're made, the proteins collect inside this endoplasmic reticulum, and the endoplasmic reticulum forms a membrane around the proteins to hold them and store them and protect them.
Bro, doesn't it look like those candies? With the little yellow dots all over?
Yeah, a little bit like the dots.
I don't like the dot.
Let's take a look here. Endoplasmic reticulum.
Some of the organelles are called endoplasmic reticulum. Among other things, endoplasmic reticulum serve as the cell's assembly lines because they are where protein products are put together based on instructions from the nucleus. The endoplasmic reticulum serve other functions as well. They're like highways that provide a transportation network. Among other things, they connect different organelles in a cell and allow them to exchange materials.
Okay, so basically this endoplasmic reticulum, the proteins can move through this stuff. See how it has spaces to allow the proteins to move? And the endoplasmic reticulum can break off, little pieces of it can break off and float through the cell. It looks like little bubbles floating through the cell. We call these little bubbles vesicles or vacuoles. Take a look here. Here's endoplasmic reticulum making some protein. And you can see the little endoplasmic reticulum is full of green stuff here. And look how a little piece of it breaks off. You see how it breaks off?
I just saw that.
It starts moving. And it'll eventually move to another organelle that we study called the Golgi Apparatus.
Wow. Could they have made the names a little easier?
No. Yeah, I guess they could have, but Golgi is the guy who discovered it, so he gave it his own name.
So if they create something, what would you name it? Willis?
Willis Apparatus.
That sounds cool.
If I discovered it, it would be the Willis Apparatus. But it's the Golgi Apparatus. Now, the Golgi Apparatus is like a factory. Have you ever heard of an assembly line?
Yes.
Okay, think about how an assembly line works. Let's think about an assembly line for making cars. Okay? At one end, on one side of the factory, the metal comes in, the body comes in, the frame, the tires, the steering wheel, the seats. All the raw materials come in one side. And right here, there's a worker who lays down the frame. And then he passes it on, and this worker puts the engine in. And then passes it on, and this worker puts the tires on. And then this worker puts the seat on. And eventually, the car comes out the other end and it's done. But you have workers at each step, right? That's what the Golgi apparatus is. You see how it's layers of little sacs? These sacs are membranes that hold workers. And here are the raw materials coming in from the endoplasmic reticulum. That's raw materials that the cell has made, proteins, and also there's sometimes fats and proteins and fats and carbohydrates. Anyway, they come in to this side. The vesicle actually moves through the Golgi apparatus, and as it's moving through the Golgi apparatus, the workers change it at each step, and eventually it comes out a finished product.
What does it come out?
It depends on the cell. Some cells make enzymes to tear up your food that you digest. Cells in your digestive system. Some cells make hormones, like growth hormone. They help make you bigger. Some cells make new pieces of membrane. There's all sorts of things can be created, but it's the Golgi apparatus that puts it all together. And let me show you some video footage that gives you a better idea of how this looks. Now check this out. This is a Golgi apparatus. That's one of these. Looking from underneath it, looking up at it. Pretend the camera is right here looking up at this. You see? Now watch this.
Here we see a Golgi apparatus, with its cyst face toward us. We also see vesicles and several microtubules. A small vesicle, shown in red, is moving along a microtubule, carried by a motor protein. Materials move through the several cisternae of the Golgi apparatus. They are carried in vesicles that bud from one cisterna and fuse with another, or with the plasma membrane.
So check this out. We have these little purple things. They're called vesicles. And they're holding proteins and contents that came from the endoplasmic reticulum. And see how just follow this one along on the left here.
What's the red thing?
The red thing is another vesicle moving along the microtubule. Remember how I said the microtubules, the cytoskeleton, things move along the cytoskeleton like train tracks? That's what that is. So check this out. See this thing over here on the left, this vesicle moving through the Golgi. and eventually it comes out as a final product.
So they don't like move through tubes or anything, they just like go through it?
They just go right through it. Isn't that cool?
It goes.
It's like a bullet going through.
Yeah, it's because this is made of membrane, and this is made of membrane. It's made of the same stuff. So they can just meld into one another and move through. But there's something inside that. I love that video. That's fun to play with. More video footage. Golgi apparatus.
Another kind of organelle, the Golgi bodies, are the cell's packaging centers. Here, proteins are mixed with other chemicals and enclosed in bubble-like containers that then break away and move to the cell membrane where their contents are released from the cell.
That was
That
weird.
one wasn't cool.
Sorry, I got better ones. Yeah,
How do you make a hormone?
it's my joke. You stole my joke. It's a dirty joke.
You gotta do it, Fred.
Do it.
Ah!
Wow. A little late there.
I'm sorry.
Okay, hold on.
What?
Just
Better.
Okay, here, watch this
I
one.
think we were making fun of you. You can't.
Okay, you're looking inside a cell. Listen,
Listen.
what do you think that is up there? What's that look like?
The little
right.
rough arm
hand.
thing.
A rough
the
epidemic.
ribosomes.
Rough endoplasmic
Endoplasmic
reticulum.
Reticulum.
Let's say endoplasmic reticulum together on three. 1, 2, 3. Endoplasmic reticulum.
Endoplasmic reticulum.
And what's this right here?
The Golgi apparatus.
Golgi apparatus.
That's the Golgi apparatus. And this part right here is the outside of the cell. That's the cell membrane. So watch.
The endomembrane system consists of the endoplasmic reticulum and Golgi apparatuses. Vesicles pass from one part of the endomembrane system to another, and secretory vesicles from the Golgi apparatus merge with the plasma membrane, secreting their contents by exocytosis.
Now take a look here.
It just released something.
Well, what are they making?
This cell is releasing something. Now notice here's the Golgi.
Yeah.
There's vesicles moving towards the Golgi, and by the way, they've cut these open so you can see inside them.
What's that? Why?
But normally they wouldn't be cut open.
They'd be like that circle on the left.
Yeah,
going out.
they'd be complete.
Like
They'd be-
down, like that left down.
Wait, what are they making it?
But different cells make different things. For instance, cells in your mouth, in your salivary glands, secrete saliva. So this cell could be making, that could be saliva in there, and it could be secreting it. And it goes out into your mouth.
It's like.
Have you ever had a cold and you're sneezing and you think, I used to think this when I was a kid, that's what I think other people might think. You think, gosh, if I sneeze enough, I'll just run out of snot
I never
eventually.
thought that.
But you never run out of snot because your cells keep making more
Why?
Which is awful. I had a sinus infection.
to protect your nose against the
Never
infection.
ended.
Yeah.
I sneeze
It's
so
horrible
much.
because I blow my nose.
2.5
Alright.
The snot serves a purpose. It traps particles. But see how it releases
That's
it?
awesome how it releases.
If this were a cell inside your stomach, it might be releasing acidic enzymes that break down the food. If it's a cell inside your brain, it might be releasing growth hormone that causes other cells to grow.
How long does it take?
Yes. How long does it take to release this? How long does this process take?
Yes.
Some cells can do it hundreds of these per second.
What? So basically one jiffy.
Yes, about a jiffy.
What?
It's a scientific form. It's like a time for
Is it actually?
a second.
I've never heard of that.
You never heard of it? I will show it to you. I read it in the planner.
Here we go.
I'll show you. Yeah, it's at 4.
This is a cell that secretes large molecules that are
This is a good
unable
one,
to
watch.
pass through the lipid bilayer of the plasma membrane. They leave the cell instead by a process known as exocytosis.
What?
Watch.
After production in a system of membranes called the endoplasmic reticulum,
That's that.
the molecules are packaged in a small sac of membrane called a vesicle. The vesicle moves to a stack of membranes called the Golgi Apparatus. Their membranes merge, and the vesicle releases its contents for modification. As the molecules leave the Golgi apparatus, they are again packaged in a vesicle, which moves to the plasma membrane.
Watch it now.
As membranes merge again, the contents leave the cell without actually crossing the plasma membrane.
Ah, see?
What happens to the?
Wait.
This process can also occur in reverse, allowing large molecules to enter a cell. This is termed endocytosis.
Cool. So weird.
Well, I mean, what happens to the vesicle when it becomes the plasma membrane?
It becomes the plasma
Can
membrane.
you just keep growing that if it needs
It
to?
could,
Okay.
but it's so the membrane can get bigger or smaller. Yeah. But check this out. This shows you very well that the vesicles are the same stuff as the plasma membrane. Do you see how it's a phospholipid bilayer?
Yeah.
Ew.
You can see the two layers. You can see those
Yeah,
are
I was
phospholipid
Like,
molecules.
can you rewind a little bit? Rewind a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's not
How far?
play from here.
Forward from there?
Yes, please. So it comes out.
Membranes merge again. The contents leave the cell without actually crossing the plasma membrane.
Oh, it gives me a headache.
That is so cool.
See?
So is the cell getting bigger and bigger?
The cell can get bigger if it's releasing stuff,
Happens.
or it can get
This
smaller if
process
it's
can
taking
also
stuff
occur in
in.
reverse, allowing large molecules to enter a cell. This is termed endocytosis.
So exocytosis is when it releases stuff, and endocytosis is when it takes stuff in.
Hold up.
Do you see?
What do you mean?
It's getting pretty low on power.
Yeah, just let it run out. The battery's bad. I'm gonna get a new one.
It always runs out when we have like 5 minutes left.
Yeah, it only lasts about 25, 30 minutes. Okay? Now, there is a special type of vesicle that I want you to know. It's called a lysosome. It's a vesicle that contains destructive enzymes. I like to call it the floating ball of death.
Oh! Can we call that?
That's the lysosome.
Yeah.
It's a floating ball of death. It destroys and kills anything it touches. Breaks it apart.
Why didn't it listen to you?
So, what happens is, look at this case, please. If the cell, here the cell has taken something in. See those little circles? The cell has pulled it in by that process I just showed you. And when the cell does that, it might need to then tear it up. Maybe it's food or something. And so what it does is it makes a lysosome with its Golgi apparatus. It makes a lysosome that has digestive enzymes in it that will destroy anything. And then it merges the lysosome with this vesicle that contains what it just took in. You can see the two are coming together here.
I thought it kills everything.
And then look, watch. It destroys that. You see how it broke it apart?
Yeah,
Into pieces?
That's pretty cool. What is
We call that a lysosome.
So it's like a lightsaber?
No.
What are the incoming
Digestive enzymes. Question?
I have a question.
Yeah.
What do the incoming vesicles bring into that cell?
Food.
What do cells eat?
Food from the outside. Now it could be bacteria. It could be harmful microorganisms. That's what white blood cells eat. Harmful microorganisms. Could just be food. It could be after you eat. Think about the food you eat. After you eat, the food gets into your blood. The blood absorbs the food from your digestive system, and all of your cells in your body suck the food out of your blood by this process. They absorb the food particles from your blood and take them in, break them apart if need be, and then use them for raw materials to make more proteins and carbohydrates and lipids for the cell by that process. So the lysosomes are needed to destroy things. Let me show you a process.
We're gonna go back through all that. Right?
We got a whole other day tomorrow. Watch this.
The outer wall of the cell allows
Listen,
it to take in
cool
the
video.
materials it needs to stay alive. Cells trap these materials from the outside and package them into tiny cargo bubbles called vesicles.
Is the right side the cell or the left side?
The right side.
Right side. Watch it.
The bubble hitches a ride on a motor no bigger than a molecule, which latches on to one of the miniature monorail tracks that form the cell's transport network.
That's the cytoskeleton.
It's like a subway. That's so cool. That's like the
Quiet, please.
Usually, the bubbles reach their destinations within seconds. But in the biggest cells, which stretch from the spine to the toe, the journey can take 4 days.
The spine to the toe?
Each bubble carries a code, a chemical address label that guides it to a particular location. When it reaches its target, perhaps a lysosome, one of the cell's many recycling
That's a
plants,
lysosome.
it hops off the track and empties its cargo. The job of the recycling plant is to break down the delivered raw materials into smaller building blocks, which the cell uses to grow.
What happens to that vesicle?
Bro, this would be an awesome magic school lesson. It becomes part of it.
Yeah, it becomes part of it.
Didn't you just watch the video?
I love that movie.
That's the volume, bro.
I did, but it was just like.
Oh, is that the volume?
Cell allows it
Oh,
to
here we
take
go.
in
Yeah, this is what. Check it out. So the vesicle gets on these. This molecule here is called a motor molecule. Did it go out?
No, it's still on.
Okay. The molecule here is called a motor molecule, and the motor molecule carries the vesicle along like train tracks. You see how it works like train tracks? The molecules move along these. Turn it down and just play it. They move along these rails. The vesicles do. That's the rails. That's the cytoskeleton I talked about earlier. They're called microtubules, and they run all over the cell. That's how the vesicles know to get somewhere. And here's the big lysosome right here, down on the right. And this vesicle would be dropped off at the lysosome, and the lysosome will then destroy whatever is inside that vesicle. All vesicles that come in the cell are led to the lysosome, so whatever it is can be destroyed.
Are lysosomes are things that help you get better,
Ball
like,
of
sick,
death.
like where germs get on?
Well, if germs are in your body, you have white blood cells that crawl around and eat the germs,
Or do lysosomes?
and then destroy the germs with lysosomes.
That's awesome.
Question, Graham.
And how does the cell get food if it's always destroyed by lysosome?
It doesn't.
Well, no, the lysosomes, the food is broken down into its smallest molecules, its monomers. The single ring carbohydrates, that's the lysosomes break it down into that. And then the broken parts are shipped off for use by the cell. So they aren't completely destroyed, they're just broken down into their smallest parts.
Is
Yes.
there one lysosome in every cell?
Hundreds.
Oh, okay.
Hundreds.
So it's not like all the stuff gets brought to one. It's just
No.
brought to the closest one.
Brought to the closest one. Now, I want you to think about this. Listen, your body, all that stuff that's going on in there, all those moving vesicles and stuff, your body has 80 trillion cells.
80 trillion.
I thought it was 100.
No, that's
Well, it could be 100 if you're a bigger person.
I'm a bigger person.
Now think about it. Think about all the activity that you see that's going on inside these cells. Think about all that
He
activity.
knows more than the book.
Look at that.
Hey, bro, you're talking about like bigger weight or just like size in general? Like,
Bigger people have more cells. Because these cells don't change their size.
Obviously,
If you're bigger, you have more cells.
if you have like
not memory one.
more
That's
muscle,
really not a lot.
Then you have more cells.
Trillion in a day.
So listen, all this activity is going on inside the cells. 80 trillion cells in your body, every one of them active, even when you're just sitting there.
Right now.
It's an amazing amount of activity. It makes you think, guys.
What?
Sorry, he asked if you could.
It's often you're
I
often
didn't
doing
ask
this stuff.
anything, Graham.
Graham,
I'm paying attention.
Taylor, I'm talking now. It's often stuff like that. I'm trying to talk and you're doing your thing or making comments or something. It's not the first time I've said something. Anyway, you have a large amount of activity going on inside the cell. 80 trillion cells in your body. All this activity. It makes you feel kind of big when you think about all this small stuff that's going on. People really don't have an idea, a grasp of how tiny molecules are. And hopefully this gives you a good idea.
They are.
When you look at a cell, when you look from this size, all these organelles, I mean these things are tiny compared to the size of a person. And this is going on inside your body trillions and trillions of times over right now.
Bro,
It
what
probably
about,
decided
it
to
said
be
something about like
inside
from the
the
toe to the spine.
Yeah, there are nerve cells that run all the way down from here, from the end of your spine to your toe.
So like multiple little ones or just one really long?
One long nerve cell. Turn off.